What's up, guys? It's me, the RB Grinder. It's my first video on the channel. I figured before I record some matches, I was just going to go over some of the decks I was playing and show you guys kind of what I was working on and kind of how these decks work. So today we're going to be starting with the Nine-Tailed Fox, Ahri. So she's kind of like a control deck. I play her as more of a mono-green control deck. So her unit ability is pretty simple. When someone attacks you, you give it -1 attack. To a minimum of 1. So like Victor can't go to 0 when he's sending his tokens. So it's a minimum of 1. The legend you're usually going to play with her here is Ahri. When I hold, you score an additional point. So she's kind of like the bread and the butter of the game plan. So the game plan is to kind of get Ahri out and then control a battlefield and kind of just keep controlling it with counter spells and face downs. It plays kind of like a trap deck from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like a kind of a slower control deck for other card games. The special spell you get is really, really broken in this deck. It's a hidden. To be honest, I haven't used it as a hide much often because there's a couple of other cards that are better to hide. But it basically kills any units in the battlefield with total might 4 or less. So it's actually come up multiple times that against like Victor, for example, this deck just absolutely destroys it when they start sending like 4 or less things in. The idea, hopefully, is that if you're playing against like Volibear or something with ramp, you can maybe wait a little bit longer. And just start taking points faster. Because Ahri, every time you score a point, every time you hold, you get 2 points. So you're going to end the game a lot faster by just controlling one battlefield and just keeping it up and keeping it going. You're going to be passing on mana a lot of the turns, but that's okay. It's kind of what the strategy is for. The monsters you play are typically going to be somewhere around here. You could add some, you could remove some. It's just kind of a nice mana curve. The 2-drop is just a 2. When you play a spell, you get it 1 this turn. To be honest, it doesn't come up that much, but it can come up when defending if you leave an extra mana behind going second. Sona is crazy. Sona is the best card in the deck. When you put her on a battlefield, you're ready for Friendly Runes at the end of your turn. So it's just you can spam out all of the guys you can, play everything you can, take battlefields, and then still have that mana left over on your opponent's turn to play counter spells and traps and boost attacks and stuff like that. A lot of the strategy revolves around having mana up at the end of your turn, so you'll notice that Sona is really helpful. Yasuo, when he attacks, he deals damage of equal to the might to the enemy unit here. So he kind of will just when he attacks, he kind of gets almost like first strike. I'm pretty sure from Magic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I've been playing it. That's how I read it as. It's kind of like first strike. And then White Flame Protector is just honestly a big body. The 8 power can come up a little bit when you use Zonias, which I'll show you guys later is a cool thing because Zonias brings Ahri back. If this Ahri would die, it brings it back, and then you can maybe play a White Flame Protector if you've got nothing else to play, and then go and take that battlefield back with like a 12-drop Ahri, basically. Some of the draw spells you're going to be playing. Discipline is really good. It gives a unit +2 might, and it draws 1. Sometimes you will literally use it just to draw 1 and mill through your deck to try and find some of your better cards because you're going to be recycling cards. The Clockwork Keeper, it's a 3-drop. It's a 2-drop too, but if you play as him a 3, you draw 1. So typically you're going to be playing him as 3 to draw 1. He's also a creature that can just take battlefields early, so against Volibear, it's a good idea. And then Garbage Grabber. Recycle 3 trash from your deck, draw 1. So you kind of have to get trash going, so it's good to use spells aggressively. And then kind of to draw 1 and just keep recycling them back and every turn drawing 1. This comes up later in the game, but you get it into the field early in the game when you don't have much else to do. These are kind of like your draw engine, so to speak. As far as counter spells and stuff to like move with the game and mess with the game. So Charm is a really cool spell. It's 1, move an enemy unit. So you can move a unit from a battlefield off the battlefield or from one battlefield to another battlefield or back to the base. So it can kind of help like deflect pushes in a way or make someone like, throw in a bunch of guys and think they're going to kill your Ahri and then move it back. Same with Stand United. Stand United feels like a pretty weak card. But you usually buffs a friendly unit, gives it +1, so it's a 3 mana. It's kind of not a great value, but it just fills out your gap of cards that you can play hidden. Sprite Call is pretty good. It plays a 3 token with Temporary, kill it at the end of the turn. I haven't found a great use for this, to be honest with you, but it comes up when you're taking battlefields more than anything. So if someone's holding a battlefield, it'll come up to try and go and take that battlefield. Stupefy is great. It's just to give a unit -1, draw 1. This is also part of your draw engine as well, but you really want to save this, and you don't want to just use it willy-nilly. Sometimes you'll use Discipline just to draw 1, but I think Stupefy you should probably save more of the time. Sometimes you could use it to draw 1 if you're really bricked. Block, I think this is the best card to play hidden most of the time, because when you play it as hidden, it gives a unit shield 3 and tank. So if you have an Ahri on the field and you put down a hidden block for 1 mana, it's essentially a 1 mana give 3 shield and tank. So it's almost like a 1 mana 3 buff, which is really hard to get over for a lot of players, and it's kind of hard to play around. Zhonya's Hourglass, you usually don't play this as hidden. You're usually going to be playing this on the field as a gear, so that when something would be destroyed, you can kind of just plan around it and let it die and come back. Sometimes it's good to let it come back, and sometimes it's good to like use another ability. Sometimes you like want to counter spells to keep your Zhonyas alive, but a lot of decks have removal, so it's definitely good to have this deck and just play it when you're on curve or when you have extra mana. Blastcone Fae, you actually can't play this card in this deck because I'm only playing 12 green runes, so I'm not playing any blue runes. So you actually can't play this card as a 2-drop because you would need to recycle a blue rune, and you don't have any blue runes to recycle. So this is only a hidden thing. You just play it on the battlefield hidden. It'll when you play it, it gives a unit -2 to a minimum of 1. So it can kind of help stop the early game pushes to kind of help. These are all your hidden cards. Typically, the hidden cards you're going to be using the most is probably like Block and Blastcone Fae, and sometimes Sprite Call. But Sprite Call these cards are more used as spells. All these are more used as spells, and these are more the hidden cards that you kind of like want to bread and butter through. This one as well, you kind of want to spell. So these are kind of the hidden cards you really want to go and recycle and get through. You have 2 counter spells in the deck, which is really sick. You have Defy. So if you're a Magic player blue, you might like this deck. Defy is really cool. It just counters a spell that costs no more than 4 and no more than 4 and no more than 1. So it's just a counter spell for like lower ranked removal spells. Sometimes they'll be like a Victor has one where it's like kill one Victor controls, kill one you control. You can defy that, and it's really good to just kind of counter it out. And Wind Wall. Typically you're saving these counter spells for when your Ahri's getting pressured. Generally speaking, in this deck, they're going to have a hard time beating over the Ahri. But they are going to have a really, really easy time removing it. So it's really important that on the end of your turns, you're kind of saving your Wind Wall or Defy. You're saving mana at the end of your turn to kind of go through and just make sure they don't kill you. You also have the Seals of Focus. That's kind of every deck has it. It's kind of like it feels like a Soul Ring almost from Magic, where it just add a mana. It's a 0-drop, so you just play it and add a mana, you get another mana. Every deck kind of has one like this. They do a little bit of different things, but this one, you have it, you play it, it's free mana. Makes sense to play it. That's all of like the main deck cards. There is definitely more options you can for sure play if you really want to. Typical game plan of this deck kind of looks like you're typically playing, you have your legend, you have your champion, your hand's filled up with stuff. Let's say you have that. So maybe like turn 2, you might play, Garbage Collector, even though it does nothing right now. You go to your next turn. You can't really do much here. You can play Clockwork Keeper for 3, draw a card. And then next turn, now you're here, you can play Ahri, and that's kind of the turn. You really pop off once you get Ahri. You want to get Ahri as fast as possible. So going second is actually sometimes better in this deck. If you want to go first, it might be better if you can kind of draw into a Seals of Focus or Mulligan for it, then you can get to Ahri a little bit faster. But you want to get to Ahri as soon as possible, because as soon as you get Ahri, you can start doing some combos like playing Ahri on the battlefield, and then just obviously putting a face down block on there. So this card face down is just almost really hard to kill through. And if in one of your earlier turns you could have set up like a Zhonya's or something, it's going to be really hard. Every time when you take the battlefield, you get a point, and then every turn you get 2 points when you are holding this battlefield. Sometimes you could sneak one of your little guys onto the other battlefield to get a nice little thing, and you can even combine it with, one of your Stand Uniteds or your Stupefies or your Sprite Calls or something like that to kind of steal a battlefield that they're not kind of like worried about. Some of the battlefields you're going to be playing in this deck are Zon Warrens, Targon's Peak, and you're also going to be playing the Windslip Hellrock. Increase the points win by 1. This one's pretty good because you kind of start ramping in points really, really fast. Zon Warrens is crazy because you can kind of just mill through your deck, and it has a lot of synergy with Garbage Grabber. So when you get this one, it's pretty good. And then Targon's Peak is really good because if you grab Targon's Peak and you're going first, you can get to Ahri that one turn faster. So it's really important that if you have Targon's Peak, you can get to Ahri a turn faster. You only play really one Ahri, and you kind of just want to get her through and start pushing with her and holding, and just kind of setting face downs every turn and just reacting with counter spells and leaving mana up for like Wind Wall and Defy. That's kind of going to be the main bread and butter of this, and then you're kind of playing reactively more than anything else, and just trying to make optimal trades with like value and stuff like that. If you have any questions or anything, leave me any messages in like my comments. Comment, like, subscribe. I'm going to be posting a lot of recordings of games and like commentating over them and kind of trying to like explain the game as it goes and make it a little bit simpler to enjoy and watch, and kind of see what's going on with the meta and how everything's kind of shaping up. This game looks like it's going to be an awesome game. I have a huge background in TCGs, and I'm super excited. But this is how I would play Ahri Green Control. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe. Thanks, guys. RB Grinder out.